wanted to do a little walkthrough. Somebody asked a question about power hammers for blacksmithing, and I built this one myself, and I just want to walk you around it, and just maybe this will help some. Here's the power hammer I built. Um, I built two of these. The first one, I actually, after I built this one, I sold it. It was smaller. It was made off the Ron Kenyon idea of plans that you can get from the Artist Blacksmith Association of North America, ABANA. You used to be able to buy plans from them for a power hammer, and it was different in that it had slides here, so you had a plate welded on the back of the head, and that plate rode up and down in either brass or whatever you want to use as a guide. And so I used that one for years, did a lot of work on it, had probably a 60-pound head on it. This one I wanted to upgrade, and I've used this for years. This thing's probably 10 years old, and I run it quite a bit. But I had kind of a low clearance in my shop. It's not very tall right here. Now, part of my shop is much taller, but this part is shorter. And I had seen some hammers. I've just looked at a lot of what I call commercial-made hammers that people were buying, were building and selling. And I just took some ideas from them and basically used materials that I got at my local scrapyard. When I built this hammer, I had about 800 bucks in it. That was for everything. So, and the most expensive part of that was things like I think I bought that pneumatic cylinder new. I think I bought it new. I put on new filter, water separator and oiler, and I bought a new valve. So everything else was basically scrap. And there's just a few things to remember if you're going to build one of these. You want approximately, and all of this is up for discussion, and you ask 100 people, you'll get 100 different responses. I think you want at a minimum is a 10-to-1 ratio. Your hammerhead weight versus the anvil weight. And my anvil weight is right at about 900 pounds. And my head weight is right around 90 to 100. So I'm right there in that ratio that you need. This is very thick wall 4-inch square tubing with a welded plate here. It's drilled and tapped underneath there for my die, which I made out of 4140, which is so easy to temper. Anybody can temper it. It's not hard at all. And then I made this where if I ever wanted to move it, which I never have, I drilled and I welded bolts on the inside of this and made these straps where if I have to, I can undo the bolts, take the straps off, and take this off the top, which the mounting plate is mounted here and here to the anvil, and then these just tap into this plate. So I drilled and tapped these. Now I bought these at a scrap yard. I bought a long stick of this. It was like 3-inch by, I think that's like 3-inch by 9 inches or so. And I cut them a bandsaw, but I went and I bought a really big tooth blade to cut them. So I cut those myself, but you could have somebody else cut them. And I sandwiched them together and just kind of ground it flat. I didn't machine it flat on. I'm not a machinist. I'm a blacksmith. I had a piece left over, and I set the bottom of the anvil on a large base plate of the same material. If you can see that down there. And then I used 8-inch thick wall tubing, that's like quarter wall tubing, to make the upright. And that kind of gives you access down inside here if you need to do anything. But then the cylinder is, I made a head top piece on this, and so my cylinder is sitting here going up and down. Most of them, like the big blues and things you see, their cylinders go up, and that's great, it's fine, it works great. I just had some clearance issues I was worried about, and I had seen this side-by-side design, and I've got and it just happened the other day. I've got a small air leak in this valve, so you're going to hear that when I fire this up. I've got to pull that apart, clean it, and fix that. It shouldn't take that long. That literally just happened the other day. But this hammer, I got air feeding to it off a 80-gallon. It's a twin cylinder Ingersoll Rand compressor. Runs about 23 or 26 CFM. So anyway, I'll turn this on. comes on like that. And then it's got a treadle. And all of this I just fabbed up out of scrap. The guides in here, you can see these blocks. I have got that ultra high molecular weight plastic. It's UHMP or whatever. I've got pieces of it that go from here to here, and they're about probably that wide. And these are little keepers. I've never replaced them in 10 years. If you're going to use those things, don't use a regular oil. Use something that has, what's it called? It's called C. This is a Surflon product. It has a particular additive in it. And let me see if I can find it, and I'll tell you what it is. Well, it has a particular, I guess that Surflon is the additive, but it's made more for Teflon slides or plastic slides than like WD-40 or anything like that. So that's what I use to lubricate it. And basically all I do is before I run it, you know, whichever day I'm going to be forging, I just squirt some on here and then I cycle it through. Sometimes I'll add a little bit more. That's all I do. And those slides have been on there for 10 years and they've got lots of hours, thousands of hours of run time and it cycles. So that stuff works pretty good. So what I did, I used a larger piece of 5-inch, a smaller piece of 4-inch, had a gap, put the plastic in there. I just drilled and tapped all this. I am not a machinist. All this is just done by hand. And then I did a bracket up here, just welded that on there so I could get that dead even. If I have to take all this off, this will just come off. I have had 1 or 2 occasions over the years where these loosened up a little bit and I had to tighten them back up, but that's all I've had to do. This slide on the back up here, I couldn't drill it. I drilled and tapped in there. I ended up just tack welding a piece on there to make the stop because I couldn't get to it, but I can break that off if I need to. Anyway, the dies again are made out of 4140 that I just made my own little combination dies. I do a lot of texturing, so I have a little rig here for holding some of my texturing dies. I can just tap that with a hammer and that'll go in, come out. Got some of my texturing dies on there. I also have some other dies and then I can do hand things under it. I have, if I want to just do some single strokes, I can do, or some punches, some D10s, I can do with that. I normally probably use this tool mostly on my treadle hammer, which is another tool I built. Anyway, just air over hot. It's air. It's a pneumatic. It's got the oiler on it. It cycles up and down. Try to take a couple shots how it cycles. And then the harder you press it, the harder it hits. So I got really good control. You can see I can lightly tap it, or I can hit it hard. I mean, it gets really loud if I hit it really hard, but it will. There's a little switch. You can tell I had a little issue with that not wanting to return all the way. And like I said, these switches and stuff are old, and I just kind of piecemealed stuff together. I use this. This is not very pretty. I didn't do a real neat job of plumbing all this. I just bought the air line with these quick couplers, connectors, but it's all off the shelf stuff. If I have something break, it says here I replaced the valve in 13. So this is old. It's, gosh, what are we up to? It's things 10, 12, and it's older than that. It's probably 15 plus years old. But everything down here for the pivots is just real simple stuff. Just weld on bolts, you know, make some pipe for your foot, put some return springs. All this kind of bracing is just really to weld to that thick base plate. Y'all notice I've got a small 1/2-inch plate on the very bottom, then I set that larger piece on top of that. And to tie all that together, I just put some supports there. This does not move. When I set it there, I think I set it on a base of silicone. I actually dug my concrete out. Originally I had one sitting on wood, and there's gravel underneath here, and it started moving. So when I did this one, I had this pit already here, so I just took it out, poured an entire separate concrete footer for this, dug it out pretty deep, probably about a foot deep, the thing is, you don't have to have real thick concrete as long as you have at minimum a 10-to-1 ratio between your head, your hammerhead, and the anvil. That's what takes the most force. You're not literally beating the concrete to death. If you have a very light anvil and a heavy head, if you don't have that ratio right, then yes, it can do damage to your floor. With this, I've never really had a problem with this. Anyway, this is 4-inch, 5-inch, 8-inch, and I just built it to fit what I had. I've actually got some cylinders, some bigger cylinders to build a bigger hammer, but I've never done it. And then I put connector pieces in here, that, and that, and they're all that's hollow. And like I said, I welded nuts on the inside, and that way when I bring that in, I just screwed that down. All three of those are that. So all of this can come apart. If I ever had to move it, I could get 900 pounds of the weight to almost 1,000 pounds of weight off of it just by moving that. And then it would move a lot easier if I need to, but I don't plan on moving it. So I hope that helps somebody. It works. I mean, it works tremendously. I do a lot of forging. This is my homemade propane forge that I use. I built it. I can rebuild it totally off stuff out of Amazon. Got the air handle. The only thing I really bought from somebody, I bought a guy by the name of Mark up in Franklin sells these ribbon burners, and I went ahead and bought that ribbon burner from him because he cast them in refractory and they're really good. I did buy that. Then I just bought off the shelf pipe parts for that because this uses forced air, and what's great about this, and this whole nother thing won't get into today. This forge gets up to welding temp on 2 pounds of propane. 2 pounds of propane. It's amazing. So it really made a big difference in how much propane I use when I'm forging. And then I also have a induction forge too, which I just got last couple of years that I use for certain projects. Anyway, a lot of things in my shop I built. My treadle hammer, I built it. Anyway, somebody had asked about this. I hope it helps, and yeah, hope you enjoy it. Hope it. If you got any questions, I don't have a lot of technical specs on it because I built it so long ago. I don't have anything written down. I just built. I did equipment repair for my first 20-year career, and I've been doing blacksmithing and a blend of blacksmithing, forging, and fabrication for the last 25 years. So I just kind of build things out of my head. That's the way it kind of works. But yeah, it's a fun project if you want to build one. They are dangerous. You got to be careful. They will take a finger off, and you got to build them heavy enough. If you're not a good welder, don't build one of these. If you want to get all the pieces prepped and get somebody to come weld it for you, but if you're not a good welder, these things need to be welded well because they're under a lot of abuse. I've only had one time. I just weld these dies right to this plate, and I think at one time I had a crack come up in there and had to re-weld it. That's about the only. And some of these welds aren't really pretty. I went in and kind of just hit over it where it was cracked, and it's been fine ever since. But I can do better looking welds than that. Some of the welds aren't too bad looking. I think when I built this, I did use a MIG welder, and I think I MIG welded this. I had a stick welder too, but some of this, like I said, some of this is kind of just rough because I wasn't going for pretty, but I was going for strong. So anyway, I hope y'all have a blessed day. I hope this helps somebody. Take care. Bye.